Hey guys, LevelCap here. Today is Monday, which means it's time for an episode of Loadout, this series where you guys, the viewers, get to pick a gun and customization for me to use. The way you do this is you leave a comment down below letting me know what kind of weapon and accessories you'd like me to run with, and I will pick one of the top rated comments for the next episode of Loadout. Today's top comment comes from Cass Lamarink. He says, "The Expendables Chuck Norris style G36C with ACOG and heavy barrel, RPG and M1911. Use the squad suppression so you can spray enemies full with bullets and they will have a hard time trying to shoot you back and hopefully miss all the bullets because Chuck Norris is untouchable. Have fun." Now let's just take a moment to look at the G36C with the ACOG scope. It looks badass. This gun just looks freaking cool. I've always thought the G36C was a really neat looking gun to begin with, but the ACOG scope on there, it really does look like a weapon that is meant for wartime. Now, in-game, I'm actually quite a fan of the G36C. I don't think it's quite as precise of a carbine as you can get. You can definitely get ones that are much more precise, better at range, even better at close range. But the G36C is just a nicely balanced gun. It's easy to use. You don't really have to spend a lot of time compensating for recoil. And it looks cool to boot. It's got a great reload time of 1.9 seconds, which is almost as fast as the fastest reloading carbines, such as the ACWR, which clocks in at 1.85, and the M4A1, which also clocks in at 1.5 seconds. This, of course, is the short reload time. Now, naturally, the ACOG isn't exactly the most ideal scope for any carbine out there. I think most carbines just really don't have the accuracy to make use of it. Perhaps the Scar H would be alright with the ACOG, but most other guns just kind of seem to jitter around too much. However, the fact that using a heavy barrel with carbines gives them faster bullet velocity. In fact, the heavy barrel on the G36C takes the bullet velocity from 500 meters per second, which is respectable, and bumps it up to 600 meters per second, which is definitely on the high side. So you can actually hit moving targets at long range pretty well, and that's where the ACOG scope actually is kind of nice to have with this gun. The drawback is that in very close quarter engagements, you're really going to want to hip fire a little bit more, just because aiming down sights for close quarters with the ACOG is pretty jarring. It's hard to do just because of how far it zooms you in. You can definitely aim down sights in close quarters with some of the lesser zoom scopes like the red dot sight or the Cobra sight. Now, I noticed after I finished doing all the recording for this that I left the foregrip on the gun. I wasn't really paying attention to that. So it's not exactly film accurate, but in retrospect, the foregrip actually probably is a good idea for this weapon just because it's got considerable side-to-side recoil. The foregrip and heavy barrel always complement each other quite nicely, and so ultimately I think it makes the gun a little bit easier to use even though it wasn't specified in the loadout. Now, the G36 fires at 750 rounds per minute, which is very respectable. It puts it sort of in the top of its class for carbine weapons. Sure, there's the MTAR, which fires at 900 rounds per minute, and then of course you have the M4A1, which fires at 850, or I'm sorry, the ACWR, which fires at 850, and then the M4A1, which fires at 800. It is outclassed by a bunch of guns, but not by too much, and the G36 is slightly lower rate of fire than the top rated guns, gives it a little bit easier to control weapon recoil. Again, the gun is just very easy to control. There doesn't have to be a lot of recoil compensation done with the mouse or analog stick. Now, it's a little silly to say that this gun has easy to control recoil when I'm aiming down sights with the ACOG scope and the screen's just sort of jumping all over the place. You're going to get that with any carbine no matter what. Carbines just aren't really designed for that kind of accuracy. The ACOG, however, will make it easier just to hit those targets at long range. And I found myself really able to hit a lot of headshots at longer ranges, a lot of ranges that people weren't really expecting to see an engineer as a threat. I think the most disrupting part of using this scope on a gun that's really more intended for medium range all in all is that you end up zooming in so close to your main target, which doesn't become an issue because you drop your main target very fast. However, you don't have a good a grasp on what's going on with other targets around you. So you're totally focused in on this one target and you have no idea if somebody's getting closer up on your left side or if somebody else has popped out to take a shot at you. That's something that I like to be able to do. It's something that the red dot and Cobra allows me to do a bit better. I can focus on that main target and still be very conscious of my surroundings, which is something that I cannot do at all with the ACOG. The ACOG is pretty much like, here's your target, that's all you're going to see. you're going to have to zoom out of your scope if you want to see anything else. Now, having the M1911 as my sidearm is nice. I'm becoming much more fond of the M1911 the more and more I use it. Sure, the G18 is very easy to use and extremely destructive in close quarters, but if you happen to pull out your sidearm and all of a sudden your target isn't quite as close range as you thought he might have been, that M1911 is going to become much more useful. Now, something cool that has recently been announced is that the endgame expansion is going to allow us to unlock an M1911, which not only has a suppressor on it, but also has the tac light. Currently, we have to choose between either a suppressor, tac light, or just standard M1911, but now we're going to be able to combine the two, so you can have a suppressed weapon, a suppressed pistol that's going to blind your foe. Kind of looking forward to see what that looks like and how it plays out. Just have this really teched out sidearm is always fun to do also. Now, while I'm talking about endgame, and it's sort of off topic with Loadout here, I just wanted to mention that sadly I am going to be out of the country when endgame comes out. I'm going to miss the first 2 days of launch, which really sucks, and I'm very sad about that because I really want to pump out endgame content as fast as possible. Check it out, check out the new maps, everything that's new about it, learn capture the flag, get into dirt bike chases and all that stuff, and sadly I'm going to have to wait a few days after everybody else gets it. At least for the premium players, I'm going to wait another 2 days because I won't be back. Now, usually when I do a video talking about the G36C, I try and make sure to mention that this gun is great for newer players. I don't mean it's like a newbie gun necessarily, but it is easier to use. And I highly recommend it for players who don't feel too comfortable with their recoil management. Now, I have to confess, I haven't actually seen Expendables 2. I have seen Expendables 1 and was pretty much frightened by that whole film. Just everything in it was just a mess in terms of action sequences. And I love action films, that's why I saw it, and it was just painfully shot. But I have to say, the screen grab I got of Chuck Norris with the G36C looked pretty cool. He's got like 3 magazines taped to the side of his one main magazine. It'd be awesome if you could do stuff like that in Battlefield for that quick magazine swapping. Let me know in the comments if it's actually something worthwhile to watch, and I'll throw it up on the Netflix queue. So in terms of how this loadout actually works out, I didn't hate it. I actually enjoyed it a bit. I don't know if I would prefer ACOG scope over anything out there, but you can definitely make it work and get some fun long-range kills that a lot of your opponents won't expect. So thanks for watching this episode of Loadout, guys. Remember to leave your custom kit recommendations down below, and I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap, signing off.